Today's episode is sponsored by Mill Creek Entertainment. Mill Creek is the industry leader when it comes to value-priced DVD and Blu-ray features and compilations. They have one of the largest catalogs out there, ranging from kids programming, classic films and television, independent cinema, documentary, Latino cinema, and they even produce their own content in-house, which is pretty frickin' cool.
Mill Creek is a trusted partner with some of our favorite studios, including Sony Pictures, Walt Disney Entertainment, Warner Brothers, CBS Home Entertainment, and many more. They've got their hands in just about everything. And I gotta say, my favorite aspect of Mill Creek is how plentiful they are. It's rare that I've gone to a store and not seen their now ubiquitous logo on display. I'm sure you own at least one of their titles without even realizing it, and to make it even more strange, I was at Menards the other day and saw a whole selection of Mill Creek titles.
So, available at your local Menards for those of you in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out their new Hammer Horror box set, which I'm not sure whether or not that's at Menards or not, but they put it out. Their Rita Hayworth collection, many titles within the wildly popular Ultraman series, and the David Gordon Green comedy Your Highness. They're also well known for putting out great television series like Community, The Mindy Project, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and Eureka. God, I love Eureka. The goddamn Sci-Fi Channel can put together an addictively cheesy series.
Well, they have a knack of having the lowest budgets possible, but they still make it addicting as hell. But speaking of addictingly cheesy, don't forget about Santa with muscles.
Oh my God, how could I forget? Yes, Mill Creek is also responsible for distributing that little Hulk Hogan Christmas classic.
So head to millcreekent.com and see what their collection has to offer. That's millcreekent.com. Mill Creek Ent. I guarantee you'll find something great.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, then why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show. I am Michael Viers, and joining me today is my beautiful and talented wife, Amanda Viers. How are you doing today, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We just went off and got some coffee together, and then got some breakfast, and then here we are recording this before we take my mom out for dinner. So it's always funny whenever we record with each other, because we don't have a consistent way that we do it.
No.
Like when we first started, like we would just sit back when we were at the apartment, we would sit on both sides of a table with a microphone in between us, and I don't think that was probably the best way for us to do it.
Probably not, but at the time I feel like we didn't have very big house.
No, it was the punk rock way to do it.
Yeah.
And then and we pretty much shared a microphone forever. And then recently, because of our executive producer, Austen Proctor, we got this nice recording setup, which has two mics. It's just very tight quarters to do so. Mm-hmm. And then today we are trying something different where, we are Zoom calling with each other from two different rooms, and I'm recording both ends. So it's been a process to figure out the best way to go about doing it. Although I still like the two mic idea, I just need to plan ahead for it.
We could always do that upstairs where we have more space.
Yep, I was thinking that, or actually upstairs makes the most sense because all I need is a laptop and the mixer. It's a pretty portable setup, all things considered. So,
And we have that big game table.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'll get a little bit of practice using a mobile setup here in a little bit, because for those of you listening, so this episode is going to be about Michael and Amanda's adventures at the Milwaukee Film Festival 2025. This was a big year for the Shameless Picture Show at the festival. And a couple cool things came from the festival. Not only are Michael and Amanda of the Shameless Picture Show press for the second year running, the Shameless Picture Show was also a community partner this year. So we helped Milwaukee Film present a film, and we got to show the Norwegian film The Ugly Stepsister, which we will be talking about more a little bit later on. But then on top of that, we were a member of the silent auction. So for those of you listening, Milwaukee Film, every year they do something called the Real Impact Drive. And what the Real Impact Drive is that Milwaukee Film is a nonprofit. So they rely heavily on donations and such from film fans and people who love Milwaukee and love supporting the arts. And they did a silent auction this year. It's their first year doing it. And one of the things that people can bid on was a guest spot on this very show, the Shameless Picture Show, which is the show that even John Waters politely declined to be on. So we are coming up in the world.
Have you found out who won the silent auction yet?
I have not.
Okay.
But it should be fun, because the hope is, a little dream of what I want to do is I want to go to the Milwaukee Film office. And realistically, I'm going to leave it, whoever won the auction is going to get their choice. I can do this virtually, as we're doing right now. But I think what would be most fun is to bring the setup to the Milwaukee Film office and record in like one of their offices and make it like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens.
That would be cool.
We'll see what happens. But it's been a pretty exciting year for the Shameless Picture Show. And Amanda, before you met me, did you ever suspect that you would be press at a film festival?
I didn't even go to film festivals. I don't know that I necessarily knew that they like happened locally. Like I feel like I've had heard of Sundance and like the big ones. But yeah, so I don't think I ever really thought I would go to a film festival.
And that's absolutely fair. Like I would say it's whenever I run into someone who's not a movie or film nerd and who has heard of film festivals, I'm always a little shocked. Because it feels like I always feel like it's such a niche thing until we go to them and see how many people are there. And not every film festival necessarily draws these numbers, but I would say quite a few film festivals that we attend usually have pretty good turnout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like even if I hadn't met you, I feel like I eventually would have known about them as I like spent more time in Milwaukee and stuff. But like where I grew up, there weren't film festivals.
Yeah. And I love that even your mom has messaged you and been like, there's a film festival in Dubuque. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I am the movie person now that people look for movie things to relate with me about.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So now that we've done this 2 years in a row, what are your thoughts? Because like we go pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
And part of it I think is just because like someone has entrusted me with a press badge. I want to feel like I am getting the most out of it.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
So I think other than there's 2 days for sure we took off. And I think I think there might have even been a third day because we went, but the movie wasn't. We fucked up and went to the wrong theater.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, we went. So out of 15 days, we went 12, 13 of the 15 days. Like, that's a lot. And
yeah,
I guess if my time, both years doing this, and then just having, because I also went quite a bit years ago before I met you when I was there as a filmmaker. The biggest thing that I can suggest to people is if anyone out there is ever gonna cover a film festival that is a multi-week film festival, I will say Milwaukee Film has one of the longer spans of time that they're operating. Some helpful hints or some helpful things that I feel like I want to recommend to people. Get there early, especially if you're going with someone. Get there early. Try to get a good place in line, so that way especially if you are like me and you are particular about where you like to sit, go early. Hydrate yourself, because I don't know about you, but whenever sometimes when I've told people like, oh, I'm doing this film festival, and they're like, what does that entail? I'm like, well, it's watching a lot of movies. And they're like, that sounds fun. And I was like, it is fun. It's a lot of fun because we get to see movies before anyone else. And sometimes some of these movies might not really be seen outside of film festivals. But it's when I tell people like, oh, I've been going to movies every single night and I'm exhausted. They're like, why?
I mean, but we're not really like go out all the time people.
No, we are not. We are not go out all the time people. And then on top of that, it's not just watching the movie. Like it's not like we're just going to go watch a marathon of Marvel movies. Actually, that sounds exhausting too.
Yeah, no.
But like it's not blockbustery type feel good movies. Some of them are. But there's a lot of challenging stuff sometimes, and Milwaukee Film is smart, and they do a little bit of everything. Sometimes there's social justice documentaries. There's movies, either drama or comedy, about different walks of life, different people. There's subtitled films, so then there's the reading component, and then so you are feeling a lot of different things. Mark Cousins, famously from The Story of Film and Odyssey, refers to film as an empathy machine, because it makes you feel things for walks of life that you might not have been part of. So not only are we watching these movies, sometimes they're challenging, sometimes they're long, sometimes they're just emotional, but then we have to like process them and think about them and talk about them, and there's a lot to it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like with it being indie films, there's a lot more heavy and raw subjects.
Absolutely.
Which is not a bad thing. Just exhausting in a way.
Absolutely. But I love it. Don't get me wrong, by the time it's over, I'm like, well, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
Until next year. Like, because now I can watch the things that I want to watch. Not to say that I didn't want to watch these movies, but watching something be as quote unquote homework and watching things because you want to are two very different things. Like it was nice to just like on nights off just to sit down and watch Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is something that we want to watch right now, and that's nice. So how I figured this episode would work, we're not going to do a deep dive on everything we saw. We saw a lot. I've been writing letterbox reviews for everything. I only got 2 that I still have to do.
Nice.
And then I haven't. For those of you who follow me on Instagram and TikTok, I've been doing. I've done 2 of them so far of little, like 5 to 7 minute videos, just running through the things that I've seen. I've got 1 more I still need to do, because I still need to talk about Boys Go to Jupiter, Jazzy, and Can I Get a Witness, and Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. But I will get to those. So this is more so for the people who don't want to sit there, who just want to passively listen to everything that we saw at the film festival, and we will give our honest opinions, because we're not being paid by Milwaukee Film to say nice things. We are here to just give our honest opinion, and I will say, honestly, this has been a very strong year at the film festival, with a couple exceptions.
Yeah, when we were first looking at the list, I felt like there was less that stood out as like super intriguing. So I'm pleasantly surprised that it ended up turning out to be a lot more interesting than I thought. Yeah,
me too. Because and I think some of it too is like a lot of it comes down to headspace that you're in when you're, because when you're looking at the booklet for this thing is a massive multi-page booklet. I don't have it in front of me, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's easily 12 to 15 pages.
I think it's more than that.
It could be. So it's a massive book. And what they do is you go through, it's just alphabetical. They have feature films and short films. And it's just alphabetical. And you go through, and it has the name of the film, who's involved, a picture, not even a poster, just a random screen grab from the movie, and then a description.
It's 68 pages.
Wow, I was way off. 68 pages.
I was like, I really don't think that's even close.
Okay.
68
well,
pages.
I'm here to talk about movies, not math. So it's 68 pages, and Amanda and I went through every single page, read pretty much every description. I think there's some of them, like, we started reading, like, it doesn't sound interesting. Like, we didn't, like, analyze every single thing, but we went through every single page and tried to pick out things that sounded interesting to us. And essentially what we did is we made a list. And then we made 2 lists. We made, I really want to see this, and if time allows. And what we did is then we went through we essentially had to figure out all the times and try to create a Jenga game of schedules and try to fit everything in. And it took a while because it's a big task. And then even as it went on, like, we would put, okay, we only have one movie this day. This other movie that we kind of are interested in is playing that day. Let's put it on there as a maybe. And then even as the film festival went on, we'd see a trailer for something that wasn't even on our list. And like, well, shit, now we have to go see this. What do we want to cut off the list? And so it's a balancing act, but it's a really fun balancing act. So we're going to go through film by film, everything that we saw. And I'm going to do my best to try and to remember which day. Oh, I got Letterboxd pulled up, so that'll tell me which day everything was on. So our first day was April 25th. We had a double header that day. That was a Friday. And we started that night off with David Cronenberg's The Shrouds. And just to give a full disclosure, I don't have the descriptions for each one of these films in front of me, so I'm reading off of Letterboxd, just to let you know. So The Shrouds, David Cronenberg. Inconsolable since the death of his wife, Karsh, a prominent businessman, invents a revolutionary and controversial technology that enables the living to monitor their dear departed in their shrouds. One night, multiple graves, including one of Karsh's wife, are desecrated, and he sets out to track down the perpetrators. So this was our first movie of the film festival, and it was one that I was very stoked for, and it was our first dud.
Yeah.
I feel like that line in Mean Girls where the one girl keeps trying to make fetch into a slang term, and she's like, stop trying to make fetch a thing. And I feel like that's you with Cronenberg. Like, every time I'm like, here's this Cronenberg movie, and it just doesn't work for you, and I just feel like you're like, stop trying to make Cronenberg a thing for me.
I mean, I haven't seen that many, but yeah, it's not
fair.
been a good I don't know, this movie was so horribly devoid of feeling, considering it was supposed to be about, in real life, him dealing with the loss of his wife, but then also in the movie, that actor, that character dealing with the loss of his wife. We kept hearing that he was grieving, but I did not see him grieving.
Mm-hmm. And
for something that I thought was going to be a heavy emotional movie, it was completely without emotion.
And I was curious how that was going to work, because in a lot of ways, Cronenberg can be a little bit more of a cold, distant filmmaker. If there is any sort of emotion, a lot of times it's buried within subtext. He's an interesting filmmaker. I wouldn't say all of his films work for me, but I think the way he thinks about film and the human body, I think, is very interesting, to say the least. But I was kind of stoked for this, not because I wanted to see David Cronenberg, feeling on the screen or necessarily, but I thought, okay, I do kind of feel like Cronenberg can be a little more distant filmmaker in the same way that, say, a Stanley Kubrick can be. So, and I was really inspired by this quote that I saw where he said that, I had read every book about grief and none of them grieved like I did. And I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. I'm curious to see his grief on screen. And I'm also not going to go as far as to say I don't think that this film was about grief or anything like that. Everyone grieves in a different way. This is just the way that he took all of his feeling and put it on screen. It's not for us. It's not for me. It's for him, and he just put it out in the world. I just don't personally think it worked. And I think a couple of the things that didn't really quite work for me I didn't really like the performances.
No, and I just didn't like the story itself. I mean, I've said it before, but like I'm fine with movies not answering all the questions. I don't expect everything to be explained to me. However, I need something to go off of, and the movie left with more questions and no answers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I'll also put a caveat next to the performance comment. I think everyone in this movie is a good actor. But like Vincent Cassel, for example, English is not his first language. He has done a lot of roles in French. And he even, like, I listened to a very good interview with David Cronenberg on Mark Maron's podcast. I highly recommend it to everyone out there. And he said that Vincent Cassel, when he looked at the script for this, pretty much looked at Cronenberg and goes, "I've never said this many lines in a movie before."
And that was the thing, like, he spent too much time telling us instead of showing us anything.
Yeah. And it was a lot of exposition, a lot of talk, a lot of theoretical conversations. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like everyone was kind of on a different wavelength. Vincent Cassel is doing one thing. It came off very Tommy Wiseau at times. And I feel like the movie is getting laughs, and I don't know if it was intended to. Diane Kruger is normally a very good actress. She was in Inglourious Basterds, the National Treasure movies. She's pulling like triple duty, playing 3 different roles in this movie. Guy Pearce, I don't know what Guy Pearce is doing, but he seems like he's having the time of his life. He was the ex-husband character, like the hacker guy. He just seemed like he was having the time of his life in this movie. And I heard in the interview of Mark Maron where he said, "I don't rehearse with my actors.
Which is weird.
I bring them in because they got the role because of what they can bring to this film. So I kind of feel like they were all doing something different and playing off each other in a weird way. But it's not for me, but that's also not to say that I'm never going to watch it again.
I don't have any interest in it, but that's fair.
That's fair. So yeah, that was our first movie of the day, and that was The Shrouds. Okay, so then next up, on that first day of the 25th, we followed The Shrouds up with a movie called AJ Goes to the Dog Park, directed by Toby Jones. The not much of a description on Letterboxd. The tagline is just as long as the description. The tagline says, "A comedy movie made in Fargo, North Dakota, on a nano budget with lots of jokes in it." That's the tagline. And then the description says, "When AJ loses his favorite dog park, he must fight, fish, scrape, scrap, and sap to get it back." So that is technically what happened in this movie. So AJ Goes to the Dog Park as a part of the Cinema Huligante series of programming at Milwaukee Film. And Cinema Huligante is usually, I'm trying to remember how they describe it. But the Cinema Huligante stuff is usually genre films, things that don't fit into a nice little bubble. It's not always exclusively horror. Sometimes it is more outsider comedy, science fiction.
They say for the grown-ups who never grew up, the weirdos who never needed normal, and the unicorns who just wanted to have fun.
So that's even more vague than my description. Perfect. All right, so that's Cinema Huligante. It actually originally started off as a series of programming called Shotgun Cinema back when the person who created it was still there. So AJ Goes to the Dog Park. This is the type of movie I have a lot of respect for. Something like AJ Goes to the Dog Park. I just don't like it. It is a micro-budget, no, they even describe it, nano-budget movie made by a bunch of friends in their backyard, essentially. I think I read it took them over like 6 years to make because they were just shooting it on weekends for fun with whatever resources they had. And it is delightfully charming and DIY in its aesthetic. It was Toby Jones who made it. Was actually a storyboard artist on Cartoon Network's regular show.
That's cool.
And if you're a big fan of those Cartoon Network, the Cartoon Network aesthetic, or things like the Tim and Eric show, you might love this movie. But I thought it was kind of grating.
I think it's more Adult Swim,
Yeah,
in my opinion,
I can see that.
than Cartoon Network.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the Tim and Eric of it all, because they were on
Yeah.
Adult Swim.
Okay. I just don't really gravitate towards this type of humor without a strong, compelling story.
Absolutely.
This was all jokes and no story, really.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it just like was not good.
Yeah, and I think also your enjoyment of a movie like this is really going to come down to how much. So it's irreverent humor, which I'm okay with in some extents. Like one of our comfort movies together is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which is a pretty irreverent movie in terms of its humor. Or like I also love Step Brothers or Better Off Dead. These movies where just random things will happen and it's quite inexplicable. But
I guess it's like I care about the characters.
Yes.
So like that makes it funny because I care about them. Whereas like this guy I had not really a strong attachment to at all.
No, I didn't dislike him. I just didn't care about him.
It was also like, while those movies do repeat jokes, AJ Goes to the Dog Park repeated jokes a lot. And so even if something like got a chuckle out of me to begin with, it just became like, this is not funny enough to be a repeat thing.
No, like they repeat the line, he must fight, fish, scrap, scrape, and sap so many times that I just stopped caring. I will say the joke that made me laugh, like the little gag that made me laugh the hardest until it was eventually explained. And that's another thing, like sometimes things would get explained and then it became less funny because like every character would get a backstory. And I know they were doing that to kind of play with convention, but it just kind of became conventional at a certain point. But when the two agents who worked with the mayor, the first time they just in the background kissed each other was just the funniest fucking thing. And then they would just occasionally do that. And then you find out there was like a love story between them and it became less funny actually. But it just, the movie repeats itself quite a bit. And like I said, there's definitely a DIY, I made this in my backyard charm to it. And I also don't want my review to stop people from seeing it because I do think this movie will be a crowd pleaser.
I think it's like something that a lot of people will love if it's the kind of movie that they love.
Yes.
Because like the crowd seemed to really like it.
Oh yeah, the crowd seemed to really love it, and it got more popular as it went on. And our friend who works for Milwaukee Film, Robin, her review made me giggle a little bit. Her review says, this movie did subtly it made me very nervous that my dogs will leave me behind and go to college. And then she wrote, Perry and Biscuit, if you're reading this, don't enroll. Because there's a whole subplot where he just forgets his dogs exist and they go off and have their own life and go to college. It's a goofy little movie. It's not for me, but if you are a fan of, like I said, the regular show, Tim and Eric, Tom Goes to the Mayor. Actually, this is very similar to Tom Goes to the Mayor. Or if you're a fan of like Hundreds of Beavers, you will love this movie. Yeah. If you're not, you might not be. So, AJ Goes to the Dog Park. Not my favorite movie of the film festival. I gave it 2.5 stars.
Yeah, I think that's what I gave it.
And I forgot to mention the Shrouds. I gave 1.5 stars, unfortunately.
The Shrouds was 1 for me because I actually really hated it, and AJ Goes to the Dog Park was 2.5.
All right, and then on the 26th, we were hoping for a better start to the day, but it was our only classic film of the film festival. We went to go see Susan Seidelman's Desperately Seeking Susan. The description for the movie is a bored New Jersey suburban housewife's fascination with a free-spirited woman she had read about in the personal columns leads her to being mistaken for the woman herself and into a chaotic adventure of amnesia and self-discovery. That is a wild description for this movie.
Yes.
So this was a fun screening because director Susan Seidelman was there. She was signing her new book, Desperately Seeking Something. And my friend and executive director of Milwaukee Film, Susan Kearns, was there to introduce the film. So we got a signed copy of the book, and we got a nice little Q&A afterwards. But this was also the first time for both of us seeing Desperately Seeking Susan. Amanda, what did you think of Desperately Seeking Susan?
I loved it. Like, I don't know, it was just really funny. I thought the characters were really compelling, all of them, even the ones that I didn't necessarily like her husband was kind of a sleazeball.
Gary Glass.
But, yes, but he made me laugh at times. I also really just loved the setting of like downtown New York at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think Susan Seidelman said that it's like a love letter to New York City, and I totally got that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
it was great.
So we got to see this in the big house at the Milwaukee's Oriental Theater, and it's a beautiful room to see a theater. Beautiful movie to see a theater. A beautiful theater to see a movie in. I was eventually going to get there. And we've been on a fun trajectory with the films of Susan Seidelman. So you showed me Making Mr. Right.
Yes,
and
because I grew up with it.
Yeah, I think we watched that off, like we rented that off of Amazon.
I think so.
And then knowing that I was going to have Susan Kearns on the podcast, she told me that Milwaukee Film was also doing a screening of Susan Seidelman's first film, Smithereens. This was a couple years ago, and I loved that movie. Another like love letter to New York movie.
They felt very spiritually similar.
Exactly. That's what I was going to get to. It's like kind of like in a way that Dazed and Confused and Everybody Wants Some, the two Richard Linklater movies, kind of feel like spiritual sequels to each other. Like it kind of felt like Madonna's character in Desperately Seeking Susan, named Susan, felt like a continuation of Susan Berman's character Wren in Smithereens in a lot of ways. And there's definitely a lot of connective tissue. And we found out from that Q&A that Susan Seidelman brought a lot of that to this film. Desperately Seeking Susan was already written, but a lot of the characterizations weren't on the page. She brought a lot of her sensibilities to that script.
Which really surprised me. I really assumed, I guess, I don't entirely know why, but I assumed that she had written it as well as directed it. So I thought that was really interesting. I also thought it was interesting when she was talking about how the original version of the movie, like the story was the same, but it like took place in like a suburban, I think California or something, town,
probably
with
the Valley.
Like housewives, and they were looking at, who was it that they were looking at for playing Susan?
Who played Ripley in Alien? I want to say it was her. Wait,
but I thought it was
no. Was it Susan Sarandon?
Wasn't it the mom from No. Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, yes. They were looking at Goldie Hawn to play.
And it was like,
and I feel like there was maybe one other person too, but Goldie Hawn was the one that stuck out to us. And like, this would be a
like, it would
very
have been
different
great,
movie.
but yeah, tonally of not as punk rock and grungy film as it was. And I think the punk rock grunge was what like made it.
Yeah, and I feel like she might have also mentioned like Diane Keaton or someone as well.
I think so.
And it's like that would have been a fun movie. That would have been a really fun movie, but it would have been a very different movie.
I feel like it would have been one of those movies that was like really great, but not necessarily memorable.
But like that punk aesthetic in this film, like Madonna is just a fucking, even before, because she was not a star when she was making, she became a star while making the film. Her album blew up, but she's got so much screen presence for someone who was not an actor by trade. Rosanna Arquette is becoming probably my favorite of the Arquette family. I love everything that she's in. And there's a lot of actors in that family.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the star of this movie was fucking Aidan Quinn, who played Dez.
Yes.
A projectionist by night and just a romantic schlub by day. I love this guy. There's a scene. Continue.
I love one of like the popular reviews on Letterboxd is Des sadly cradling his cat in his hammock. I really don't know a better man.
Yes,
or
that
cradling his cat in his hammock.
That was like, oh man, Des is now my aesthetic of what I choose, what I want to be in life.
Yeah.
But then overall, like, it was just a crazy kooky plot, but it was handled so well that I think I described it to you afterwards as almost feeling like an anxiety attack. Because there's like things just kept blowing up, and but I loved it. I think I always knew about this movie because it was the quote unquote the Madonna movie, but I think this movie is going to become a new favorite of mine.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Desperately Seeking Susan?
No.
I gave this one 5 stars.
Same. And a heart.
Yep, 5 stars and a heart. All right, then on the same day, we chose to go see a movie called Two Women. It's a French-Canadian film directed by Chloe Robichaud. Violet and Florence no longer understand what is happening to them, respectively. On maternity leave and off work, one is on edge and the other no longer feels anything. The neighbors are both filled with a feeling of failure. Despite their careers and families, they are not happy. Florence's first infidelity will be a revelation. What if happiness was rebelling against our rigid society of performance? In a context where having fun is very low on the list of priorities, sleeping with a delivery guy is perhaps downright revolutionary. For Violet and Florence, it will be the breath of fresh air they were hoping for. So, Two Women, a movie that was not originally on our list, but we saw the trailer for and we're both sold on it.
Yeah. Real quick, your slip up, we're calling violence or violent instead of Violet. The Fourth Wing books, he calls the character Violet Violence in there intentionally as a nickname, so that made me laugh.
I just can't read.
Yeah, no, this movie we saw the trailer and it looked really good. It was really funny and really charming, just kind of about two different people figuring out what they want out of like a relationship and out of life, and they end up going in opposite directions at the end. Like they make different decisions. But yeah, I really liked it. We did look up, it is apparently a remake, and the original is apparently like, wasn't it like two women, like there's like a dead guy or something?
Oh, give me 1 second. I'll bring up the description because it's a remake of
but it's not like the same movie at all.
Yeah, it's a remake of a French-Canadian sex comedy that is quite popular. Has a very scandalous poster. Holy shit. Called Two Women in Gold. The description is two bored Montreal housewives with inattentive husbands and lots of time on their hands amuse themselves by paying the local tradesmen something extra to give them amorous attention. So that's where the films are similar. Their entertainment leads to frantic confusion, however, when one of the visiting gentlemen, shall we say, expires. The housewives deal with their unpleasant situation quite energetically. So it has a similar setup to it. But I think what Two Women does very well is I think it shines kind of a relatively unjudgmental light on a side of relationships that are usually handled in Western cinema in a much different way. It's being relatively non-judgmental about infidelity. Which I think is kind of unique because you don't normally get that. And it doesn't chastise them for the actions they make, but it also doesn't try to paint them necessarily in the right either. It's just like, this is what happens. This is what can happen. And here's what got them to that point. And even like the husband characters, was it Florence who had the dark hair? Was that Violet?
Violet.
All right.
Oh wait, no, sorry. Florence had the dark hair.
Yes, Florence. Like her husband, he wasn't a bad guy really at all. He just, he seemed like he was a supportive partner. He was a good dad. They just didn't have much of a sex life anymore, and they weren't communicating about it, and it led to.
To be fair, she did try to communicate with him, and he kept making excuses. We don't know how long they were attempting to communicate about it. So like that was kind of weird. Like when he just started taking her antidepressants, so he would have an excuse as for why he didn't have a libido anymore.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't even go to the doctor to get that was like that's a little like
yeah. I feel like he was too afraid to admit that he didn't have the libido he once did, and instead chose to lie about it. So it's I thought it was a very interesting movie. It was very funny. There's a scene where they are trying to convince a local handyman, or not a handyman, like an animal catcher, that there's a crow in their neighborhood and they're recreating the sound of a crow, and it's just hysterical.
Yeah.
And then like just the fun, the goofy little subplot about them, trying to fix like this greenhouse in the community area, I thought was really funny. There's a scene where the two husbands are sleeping out in the greenhouse, just drunkenly playing guitar, that I just think is like, it's a buddy movie within a movie.
Yeah.
And then probably my favorite character is, I'm looking at the names of the characters real quick. I want to say her name was, it was the woman that the husband was having an affair with.
I don't remember her name, but
Ellie.
Okay.
She was hysterical. Here's this character that this married man is having an affair with, and she is more invested in his wife's life than he is. She's like, "Oh, I saw your wife posting about this on Facebook." And he's like, he gets super weird about it. He's like, "Why are you following my wife on Facebook?" She's like, "I'm curious." Like she just seemed so naive. Not naive, that's the wrong word, but like innocent in that way, where she's like, "I'm just curious what your life is like." And then there's that great scene in the pool later on where he's like, "What if I left my wife?" And she's like, "Yeah, you could do that. Like, whatever." And he goes, "Well, don't you love me?" And she goes, "I'm not really attracted to you." And he's like, his ego is fucking rocked.
Yeah, like her whole thing is like she likes fooling around with quote unquote ugly guys. Like that's how she gets off.
She's like, "I fuck you because you're ugly," and it's just, and she's just in like a pink floaty at the time, so it's just the funniest fucking scene. Loved this movie. I gave it 4.5 stars and a heart.
Same.
All right. Any other thoughts on Two Women?
No.
All right, and then we moved on to the 27th. So at this point, this is our third day. Only had one movie this day. We saw the Irish comedy Four Mothers, directed by Darren Thornton. Edward, a novelist saddled with caring for his elderly mother, finally finds himself on the brink of literary success. With pressure to go on a U.S. book tour mounting, the last thing Edward needs is his friends jet-setting off to Spain for an impromptu Pride holiday, leaving their mothers on his doorstep. Over a chaotic weekend, he has to juggle his burgeoning career with the care of 4 eccentric, combative, and wildly different ladies.
This movie was hysterical. His friends are fucking awful, though.
They're so awful.
Like, he has all 4 of them are gay. And 3 of them, well, first of all, 2 of them ditch their mothers and go off to the Pride party. And then his therapist, who's also his friend and is also gay, but like his thing was like he more recently came out, so he has like an ex-wife and kids. So he calls his therapist friend complaining about how his friends ditched their moms. And then his therapist friend is like, "Oh, there's a Pride thing," and he ends up ditching his mom also at the main guy's house. So it's like, that is, you need new friends, my dude.
Yeah, absolutely. So this movie was very sweet, but it doesn't allow itself to get too like saccharine. It allows itself to be sweet and funny, but also have an emotional punch to it. I don't know about you, there's definitely scenes where I was fighting back tears. I know you were. Because
The guy's mom reminded me a lot of my grandma.
Yes, she reminded
There's a
me of
lot
your
of
grandma.
that this year.
Yes, there's a lot of great grandma content this year at the Milwaukee Film
Not
Festival.
great grandma content, but like great, excellent grandma content.
Yes. Thank you for the distinction. But no, this movie was great all around. I liked all the old ladies. It was also an interesting movie too about self-discovery, and it's never too late to learn something new about yourself and about other people. And I also get where Edward was coming from. Like, I feel like it was a combination of feeling that he is responsible for his mother because he has a lot of guilt.
Well, and she had just had like a stroke or something.
Yes. So he has a lot of guilt, and she just had a stroke. But then I also think he's also using his mother because he's afraid to start his life.
Yeah. I mean, they established that he had commitment issues because the at-home like nurse who was helping was his ex-boyfriend. Yeah. So they definitely established that like he had commitment issues and he was kind of struggling to like grow up and establish a life.
Yeah.
So.
But Four Mothers was great. It was our first absolutely packed screening.
Yeah, they were like packed.
Yeah, absolutely packed. It was fantastic. And as I said in my review on Letterboxd, director Darren Thornton manages to ride this tone effortlessly throughout and delivers a very enjoyable tone. And a very enjoyable film. And the tone that I'm referring to is the fact that there's times where I'd be fighting back tears, and then something truly fucking funny would happen, and it would snap me back out. So that was a great movie. I gave it 4 stars and a heart.
I gave it 4.5 and a heart. Perfect.
And then on the 28th, we saw what could be my favorite film of the film festival. We saw Guan Hu's Black Dog. On the edge of the Gobi Desert in northwest China, Lang returns to his hometown after being released from jail. While working for the local dog patrol team to clear the town of stray dogs before the Olympic Games, he strikes up an unlikely connection with a black dog. These two lonely souls embark on a journey together. And I don't think embark was meant in a punny way, but that's all I could think of. So Black Dog. First off, I just want to say, Milwaukee Film. I love that they have these wonderful auto masking screens where no matter what aspect ratio the movie's in, it will, if it's in 4:3, the fucking things will come in and crop it appropriately. If it's in scope or wider, it'll get as wide as it can. This is the first time I've seen a movie at Milwaukee Film that the film was wider than the screen could allow it to get. Milwaukee Film screens go to 2.39 to 1, which is a scope aspect ratio. This movie was framed in 2.47 to 1. It was even wider than the screens would allow. Beautiful cinematography. But Amanda, what do you think of Black Dog?
I loved this. This is probably tied for my favorite of the festival. First of all, it was beautiful. Like the setting it felt almost like an Old West movie.
Yeah.
Just with like because like I don't know where in China. I'm assuming no, I don't know where the town was supposed to be, but like there was like a lot of empty spaces that just felt like deserts.
Mm-hmm.
There were some incredible scenes where like they would be driving down this like road that feels like it's going through that desert, and there would just be like a huge pack of dogs just roaming around. So like it was beautiful. I also found it really impressive that the main character says so little. Like in contrast to the Shroud, where they said too much and showed nothing, this movie showed everything and said very little.
Yeah, it was
and I prefer that method.
Definitely, it was very, going back to your Western connection, it was very much like Man of No Name trilogy, Clint Eastwood, or even some of the Akira Kurosawa films. It just kind of had that aesthetic to it, and the movie kind of played around with genre quite a bit. Like, it's not a comedy, but there was definitely humor within it.
Yeah, there were funny moments.
Sometimes it kind of felt like it was going to become like a motorcycle gang movie.
Yeah.
There was one scene where he's like throughout this movie too. So on top of that, the reason our lead character Lang goes to prison is because he's involved in the death of a local person. From everything, it sounds like it wasn't a murder, but it was like almost a murder by association because they were chasing this guy and he drove off a cliff.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not innocent, but he didn't like commit the murder. It's kind of a weird gray area. Well, the person he was involved with the murder of, his uncle, who's just known as Butcher Who, local gangster and restaurateur, is just around to make Lang's life a fucking living hell. And there's a scene
in such an interesting way though. Like he's not like out trying to murder him because like he could have murdered him.
Oh, easily. And I feel like Lang probably would have. Maybe not taking it, but I don't know how.
I feel like he would have fought back to some extent.
Yeah,
but like he was in a really deep, dark place.
Yeah, it depends on when it happens in the movie.
Yeah,
but like there's a scene later on where like when Lang is finally involved, after he meets this dog and he has like this newfound willingness to live, where like he is like wrapping his fists up and he's like has chains ready, he's about to go kick some ass, and it feels like it's gonna become a kung fu movie there for a moment.
Yeah.
There's so many tones in this movie, and it's all set within the backdrop of the 2008 Beijing Olympics, which I think is really interesting. This was just a really beautiful movie. I loved it.
Content warning for anyone who watches it: the dog does die off screen, though.
Yes,
but it ends on a happy, like hopeful note.
Mm-hmm. And what I really appreciate about this, I said this in my Letterboxd review too, is I feel like this movie, it doesn't fall within the same dog movie thematic trappings that other movies do. Where I think it's because I feel like people will see this, it's about a man and a dog, and they'll go in with a very specific idea of what this movie's going to be, like like Shiloh or Marley and Me, or what's the some stuff like that. And I think this movie is a significantly better movie
1,000%
than I think people are gonna go into it thinking with. But then there's also a dog riding around in a sidecar.
Yes.
So there is some great dog content in this movie, and this dog is fucking adorable.
It's so cute, and it just reminded me so much of Vinny, so I was already attached.
Yeah. So Black Dog is probably my favorite movie, and I also once again I just need to give a shout out to I'm not going to pronounce his name because I'm going to fuck it up, but the cinematographer of this movie shot the shit out of this movie.
Yeah.
They also had a really interesting way that they shot this movie, where they shot the movie digitally, but they printed it onto film to give it that film-like quality, and then scanned it back to digital. It's very
super interesting.
Yeah, very fascinating. All right, and then on the 30th, we chose Milwaukee Film.
Black Dog 5 stars.
Oh, thank you. Black Dog also gave 5 stars and a heart. All right, so then on the 30th, Milwaukee Film, they do a thing every month for if you are a member where you get a members-only screening. And you can only go there if you are a member of Milwaukee Film. Well, during the film festival, they try to entice you even more by having a super secret screening, a movie that no one else but Milwaukee Film members can see.
And they don't tell you what it is until you're already there.
They don't tell you a genre. They don't tell you what year it came out. They don't even give you a fucking runtime. They don't give you a clue. They give you nothing. And then I had heard the rumors of the 2024 secret screening, where they had showed a documentary, a concert film documentary called Ryuichi Sakamoto Opus. Ryuichi Sakamoto is a big name composer. And apparently it's just Kyle described it as a very beautiful movie, but it's pretty much just a black and white movie of a guy sitting at a piano playing music.
Kyle saw it?
Yes, he liked it. But the movie was apparently met with walkouts.
I would have really struggled at a movie like that.
So I feel like Milwaukee Film is realized on this one's like, okay, we need to get something. We got to bring in a heavy hitter. So they went with the 2024 Audience Choice winner from the Tribeca Film Festival, and it is a movie called Bad Shabbos, directed by Daniel Robbins. An engaged interfaith couple are about to have their parents meet for the first time over a Shabbat dinner when an accidental manslaughter gets in the way. Using the term manslaughter is intense, but it's not incorrect.
It's not, no.
Bad Shabbos. I'm mixed on this film. I thought it was a fine time at the movies. I had fun. I'm probably never going to think about this movie ever again.
Yeah, I mean, like, it could have been really interesting, but, I don't know, like, you know that there's a murder right away, like, literally the opening scene is a body falling out of a window, or a murder, or death, you know there's a death, I guess you don't know if it's a murder, but then it's weird because, like, there's this entire family covers up this murder, and, like, everyone just goes on about their day.
Yeah.
Like, it does no consequences at all, which was really weird.
Yeah, it very strange. Like I said, it had elements of something like Meet the Parents without the murder, obviously. But
Yeah.
like this is a concept we've seen before. We've seen two families having to get together for the first time. Like I said, Meet the Parents. We've seen movies where there's a dead body that needs to be covered up. Something like
Mhm.
Weekend at Bernie's. And I just don't feel like it does either concept in a way that is more interesting than things that have come before.
Yeah, I agree.
And ultimately, the hard part about a movie like this, especially when there is a dead body involved and there is a direct line of who's responsible for that dead body. Now, it wasn't malicious. It wasn't intended to be a dead body.
Yeah.
It was it was a prank gone awry, but no one gets punished.
I also, like, I don't even think, like, so they were freaking out that they can't call the police because the son who did it accidentally his life would be ruined, which I feel like now that I think about it, there's something to be said about, like, the white kid gets away with doing horrible things because his life would be ruined if there were consequences.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that until right now, but that's kind of a thing that was weirdly unaddressed. But then, like, what he did was he gave the guy laxatives, and the guy had, like, colitis, which I'm pretty sure, like, laxatives wouldn't kill you. It would make your day, like, really bad. But, like, it wouldn't have killed, but they were all acting like the laxatives are what killed him. But what killed him was he, like, slipped on the rug and hit his head on the sink.
Yeah.
So, like, it wasn't even really a murder.
It was truly an accidental thing.
Yeah. But, like, no one acknowledged that happened. Or, like, how, like, ridiculous it is that laxatives could murder you. And then also, like, so they covered up by pushing his body out the window, like,
Yeah.
hours later, which I know, like, suspension of disbelief and everything, but it's like autopsies would know that that body did not
Oh yeah.
die then. Like, they
Absolutely.
So, like, again, there were no consequences even though their cover up was very weak. The best part of the movie though was
Method Man?
Method Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Method Man and David Paymer, who played the dad,
Yeah.
they could have been in a buddy comedy together and I'd watch the shit out of that.
Yes.
Method Man, there's a point in this movie where he has to pretend to be someone he's not. I don't want to spoil it too much. But goes on this long, like, Judaism rant that is the funniest fucking thing that would happen in this entire movie. But the movie's got some good talent. It's got Keira Sedgwick in it. And then Milena Vantrub. Milena Vantrub, for those of you who don't recognize the name, she was the lead, one of the two lead characters in Werewolves Within, directed by Josh Rubin, that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also the star in a lot of the AT&T commercials. So, fun fact. And are you on Letterboxd? I need to point something out to you.
Yeah.
Can you go to Bad Shabbos, the page?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you see banners on yours?
No.
Okay. I need to show this to you because
Are they, like, at the top?
yes, like there's a picture of them all eating at, like.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a screenshot from the movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Click on the poster. It's the same exact picture, but they inserted Method Man into the picture. They just inserted Method Man into that poster.
Or they removed him.
Or they removed him. But regardless, it's really funny that it's the
Oh my God,
exact same
that's-
photo, just one time without Method Man and one time with Method Man.
I actually think he was added
Yeah.
because, like, when you zoom in, he's slightly clearer than the other people that he's sitting next to.
Yep.
Oh my god.
They just inserted Method Man into that picture.
That's so dumb because he literally was at the dinner table with them.
He just wasn't in that shot. And that was the one they wanted to use for the poster.
Oh my god.
So, Method Man, we love you. He's apparently in Poker Face Season 2, so another reason for me to watch that show.
There you go.
All right. So then, moving on. We have probably the most emotionally devastating movie of the entire film festival. We have Boonnitipat. I'm sorry if you're listening. I mispronounced your name. We have How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. M, a university dropout, low on money and luck, volunteers to take care of his terminally ill grandmother in the hope of pocketing an inheritance. I thought this movie was going to be a comedy.
It sounds like a comedy. Yes. Like, it sounds so much like a comedy. And I don't remember the last time I have ugly cried in a movie before.
I do. I remember the last time I ugly cried in a movie. How to Train Your Dragon 2 and / or
that When a Monster Calls, actually.
When a Monster Calls. Yeah, that was yeah.
But still, like, it's been a while, and I thought this was going to be a comedy, and this movie fucking wrecked me. Again, she reminded me so much of my grandma, and I miss my grandma so much. It's been 5 years, and it will never get better, and I just, like, spent so much of this movie sobbing.
Yeah. So, as I said, Emma's a university dropout. He decided to quit college to become a video game streamer. Well, that's not working out for him. M talks to his cousin, who just got a large inheritance from her grandfather because she was his caretaker. And M sees an opportunity. And at first, you're like, wait, I have to follow this fucking guy in this movie? I don't like this guy.
Which I was ready to hate him, because, like, he's hanging out with his grandma just to get money from her.
And M is willing to take the easy way out of every situation. Originally brings her some food. It's beef, which he doesn't eat anymore, and he doesn't know that about his own grandmother.
Even though she hasn't eaten beef since his mom was born.
Yes.
So, like, it has been his whole life.
Yes. And then she wants some fried fish, and she says, go to my favorite place. He doesn't want to wait in line, so he gets from somewhere else, and she knows that it's not from her favorite place. And so that's just how M is. And he chooses to live with her for a year. And what M realizes throughout the span of this movie is money is not worth what he's about to lose in this fucking adorable old lady named Amma.
Yeah.
So, this movie, like I said, this movie was an emotional ride. I told Fink to watch it.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't cry, but Sam did. So,
how do you not cry at this movie?
I don't know. This movie makes people cry so much that there was a fucking viral challenge of people like showing how much they cried after watching it.
I could not believe that this movie was submitted to the Oscars and fucking Emilia Perez instead, like, got there.
Yeah.
Like, this, not only was this movie actually fantastic, but it is absolutely an Oscar movie. Like quality, like, like they do a lot of, like, dramas and things like that. Like, it is absolutely an Oscar type movie. And they chose Emilia Perez, which was so bad.
Yeah. But then, like, I will say, like, wow, How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies is not a comedy. It wasn't just dour the entire time. There was levity. There was it balanced its tone very well. It's not like one of those weepy dramas that you expect is just going to be sad and dour from the very beginning. No, it takes its time, and you can feel that there's this love that comes off the screen for the subject matter. And I thought this movie was fantastic. I truly do. And I also love that it had its viral moment. Like, I think I said in my review, in a world full of chicken jockeys and the Minecraft challenge and everything, that this movie, out of fucking everything, had a viral moment. And I love that. And it's on Netflix right now.
Yeah. I highly recommend it. But because this is the one that Black Dog is tied for me with, just because of how much this one hit me. And I hate myself for it, but I would totally watch it again, even though
So
it's not going to go well.
we had to miss the last like 15, 20 minutes of the movie because
Yeah.
we had to make it to another screening where because the Shameless Picture Show, we were community partners with the Ugly Stepsister, and I wanted to get there early enough so I can get a recording of of them giving the shout out to the Shameless Picture Show, which I do have a recording of, and I will play that once we get to that film. So we missed out on the last little bit, and we found it was on Netflix. So the next day during lunch, we decided, well, let's watch what we missed.
I decided. I made the decision.
You
to
made the
finish this
decision.
fucking
I was
movie.
trying to show some solidarity with you. First off, if you do watch it on Netflix, it defaults to the English dub. Make sure you turn to the Thai track so that way you can watch it with the original performances.
Yes, because their performances were so great.
Yeah.
Honestly, watch it subtitled. Don't watch it dubbed.
Yeah. So we watched the last 20 minutes and we cried again.
Yeah.
We cried again. So
fantastic. I had a
fantastic.
meeting with my boss like right after lunch, and I had been sobbing.
Yeah. So fantastic. How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. I gave a 4.5 and a heart.
5 and a heart.
I wish there was an option for a broken heart.
Honestly, yes, that would be very fitting.
Yes. And then, which leads us to the next film on the list, The Ugly Stepsister, directed by Emil Christine Blichfeldt. In a fairy tale kingdom where beauty is a brutal business, Elvira battles to compete with her incredibly beautiful stepsister, and she will go to any length to catch the prince's eye. So, as I said, Milwaukee Film, they asked Shameless Picture Show to be a community partner for this. And they did an intro with the film, and I have a recording for it, which I'm going to have Austen insert right here.
Hello, welcome to day 10 of the 2025 Milwaukee Film Festival presented by Associated Bank. I am Robin from Milwaukee Film. We are about to watch The Ugly Stepsister. This is part of our Cinema Coolagante program, sponsored by Milwaukee Record. In addition, we would like to thank our community partners, the Shameless Picture Show podcast. Can we get another round of applause for all of them? On your way in, you should have received a ballot for the Alan H. Budd and Suzanne L. Seelig Audience Award. You can vote after the film by tearing along the line of the rating of your choice. A volunteer will collect your ballot as you exit the theater. We would also like to thank all the Milwaukee Film members in the audience. Are there any here right now? Okay, a couple of you, yay. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for supporting everything we do for the community, and so that's why we give you discounts on everything from merch, tickets, concessions, as well as a free film every month at the Oriental Theater. So currently during the festival, we are doing our Real Impact campaign, which we are trying to raise $125,000, and the latest update is, as of this morning, we were at just about $110,000,
wow,
which is 87% of the way to the target. Yeah. There are lots of ways to contribute to the Real Impact campaign. You can join as a new member, upgrade or renew your current membership, round up your ticket purchase, donate online, make a pledge, bid on our silent auction, which as of a few days ago now includes the original watercolor birds from our campaign art this year. Or you can text REAL, REEL, to 44321. We really appreciate all of your support. Please silence your cell phones, don't talk or text, and enjoy The Ugly Stepsister.
So The Ugly Stepsister, this is a retelling of the story of Cinderella. And so as the description said, Elvira, her family, they move in with this new guy after her mom gets married with hope that he's going to be rich. He dies. He's not rich. Their family's not rich. What are they going to do? Well, the prince decides to throw a ball. Well, her daughter is quote unquote ugly. So they're going to put her through a bunch of painful operations to make her beautiful so she can win the heart of the prince. It is the other side of the story of Cinderella. Theoretically, what is happening while Cinderella's singing with her mice and shit?
Yeah. I liked this one a lot. It was like some really crazy scenes. It had some humor. It was very well shot. I think you compared it to The Lure, but
Yes.
Cinderella. I think I like The Lure slightly better
Mm-hmm.
as far as like a retelling of a classic story. But this was fantastic. I don't know like all of the original story of Cinderella, but like there are some things that I know for sure were done in that Disney did not do that this movie brought back. So I also appreciated just the idea that they were bringing things back like that.
Absolutely. And like I said, we're running a little low on time, so I'm going to try to rush through the rest of these. But what I will say about this film is it has everything that I love. It has anachronistic music, Euro cult aesthetics, bodily fluids, lots of body fluids, and a
Yeah.
healthy dose of body horror. And shout out to the guy in the fucking audience who just screamed, "Oh my God!" during something.
Yes. It was great to watch that with like such a big crowd.
Absolutely. And I've been very vocal about the fact that Yorgos Lanthimos' film Poor Things was not my thing. This film scratched the itch that I wanted from Poor Things.
Yes. 1,000%.
So that is The Ugly Stepsister, currently streaming on Shudder. Go check it out. Next up, we have Vulcanizadora from filmmaker Joel Potrykus. Two friends make a trip through a Michigan forest intent on carrying out a disturbing pact. I don't know if I want to say much else. I feel like you just kind of have to go into this movie blind.
Yeah.
Me and you have very different thoughts about Vulcanizadora. I liked it more than you, but you didn't dislike it.
Yeah, I wanted to like it more than I did. It just did not. And maybe it's something that on the second watch it would work better. But it just didn't click with me the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, and from apparently what I read too, this is also a sequel to another film that Joel Potrykus had made back in 2015 called Buzzard. It features the same characters, which you can watch currently on Tubi, and I want to definitely check that out. This movie was produced by Factory 25, a one of the sub labels of Vinegar Syndrome that I like quite a bit, and I like them. I like the stuff that they put out quite a bit. And ultimately, I think the part of the reason I like this really responded to me. I liked the themes of masculinity, guilt, and fear that it was working through, but it also was quite funny. And this is the type of gonzo little indie art house film that spoke to me quite a bit when I was in film school. I'm reminded of the early films of Adam Wingard, Joe Swanberg, Jeremy Gardner, and Larry Fessenden. So I liked it quite a bit, plus that beautiful 16mm photography.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. That was 3 stars for me. Also, I don't know if we said, but Ugly Stepsister was 4.5.
Oh, yeah. Ugly Stepsister, 4.5, and a heart from me. Vulcanizadora, I gave 3.5. We only got a couple more left, so I think we can knock these out in just like another 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Next up, from Julian Glander, we watched Boys Go to Jupiter. A teenager in suburban Florida desperately hustles to make $5,000 in this dreamy and surreal animated coming-of-age story. I really wanted to like this movie. I didn't dislike it, but
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. Like, some of the music was fun.
Yeah, it kind of had a Bob's Burgers quality where they would just make situations into musicals, and that was great. All the music was phenomenal.
Yeah, I just like didn't really gravitate to the story super well.
Yeah, same. Like I said, I liked so much about it. I thought the voice cast was great. Jack Corbett, who does Billy 5000, he was great.
I still keep going back to though the guy who introduced it said this movie was made by one person.
Yeah.
And then like I was like, oh okay, like made by one person. That's crazy. And I see now that like the director, producer, writer, and composer were one person.
And he did all the animation too.
Yeah, but I just thought that was like so misleading when there are like some fairly big names in the cast for acting also.
Yeah, like
I think it kind of like undermines what actors do to consider them as not part of making the film.
Yeah, like Julio Torres, Joe Pera, Sarah Sherman, all these people who are really big in the kind of alternative comedy scene. They're great. And they add there's a lot of oomph to this movie. I don't feel like I have a whole lot to say. I love the aesthetic of it. It kind of felt like a video game, kind of how I imagine if anyone out there is familiar with the Earthbound video games or Mother, it's what it's called in Japan. What it would feel like if they were to make a new one, where it's like kind of grounded in a world of reality, but then it gets kind of surreal and weird. And I like the aesthetics. If it was a video game, I feel like I'd be really into it.
Yeah.
But not my favorite of the festival. I gave it 3 stars. No heart.
Mine was also 3 stars, no heart.
All right, next up we have a film by Marissa Maltz, Jazzy. Jazzy navigates the space between childhood and young adulthood. When her best friend moves away, Jazzy experiences both a sense of loss and her first inkling of independence. This film is kind of a spiritual sequel, maybe not sequel, but a set in the same world as Marissa Maltz's previous film starring Lily Gladstone, The Unknown Country.
Yes. I liked this one quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I think you might have liked it a little bit more than me, but
Yeah.
I did like it quite a bit.
It just like, I don't know, it was such like a growing up, like it was a coming of age movie, but like they were a lot younger than I feel like coming of age movies normally are,
Mm-hmm.
because like they weren't teens yet. It was shot over the course of 6 years, I think, which I thought was also really cool.
Yes, kind of had that
So-
boyhood quality to it.
Yeah. And I just really liked the characters. I like you know, the pain of like fighting with your best friend growing up over like dumb things and then trying to make up, or like moving away and losing contact and trying to
Mhm.
fix that. Like, I don't know, it just felt very, I know what all this is like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I love the aesthetic of it. Like we both thought it reminded us quite a bit of Boyhood.
Yeah.
I was also reminded of a movie that we saw last year at the film festival that I liked a little more than you, called Gasoline Rainbow,
Yeah.
where this movie, it kind of rides the line between scripted film and documentary, because from what I've read about the making of it, there wasn't a hard and fast script involved in this film. There was
Mhm.
a lot of situations, and because the characters are playing themselves, they're playing their
Yes.
own, like they have their own names. Probably easier for being, because they're children, and they're not going out there memorizing like a bunch of dialogue. They're kind of just being set up in situations and kind of composing the film almost like a documentary.
Yeah.
And Lily Gladstone plays the same character, Tana, that she did in The Unknown Country, and she shows up for one scene, and is quite good in it.
Yeah. I thought everything was fantastic about it.
Yeah, I
I
feel
didn't
like
really have any like major complaints.
I feel like this is a movie that's gonna grow the more I see it, and I definitely want to check out the previous film, The Unknown Country. This
Yeah,
one
same.
I gave 3.5 stars.
Mine was 4.5 and a heart.
Perfect. We only got 2 more, so I think we can knock these out pretty quickly.
Okay.
All right. Second from the last film that we saw a movie by Anne-Marie Fleming called Can I Get a Witness? In the not-too-distant future, we have solved all the world's problems, mitigated climate change, eradicated poverty, and achieved true trans-species equality. There's just one catch. Humans have to end life at the age of 50. And teenage artists have to document it. It's Kaya's first day on the job.
I really wanted to like this movie. I think the premise is super interesting, but the movie didn't explore it enough. Like, I want this as a series or as a book.
Yeah, I saw a lot of
Um,
reviews online that said it reminded them of a YA novel.
Yeah, I can see that.
To me, it reminded me of a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of potential for like some pretty interesting like things. Like there was no conflict in the movie. Like anytime
Absolutely
conflict
none.
was going to happen, they like resolved it off screen,
Mhm.
and that never talked. Like there was never like we're building to something, because there was nothing there. Like it was just like a very small slice of the life, which like those are okay in contemporary life, but like if it's a fantasy world, I need a conflict and and context, and I need like something more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like it was such an interesting concept that was ultimately undercooked. I'm going to read a little section from the review that I wrote for this film. I said, screenwriters Terry Rossio and Ted Elliott have a series of columns on their website called Word Player, where they write about various topics in screenwriting. In one entry, they discuss something called the off-screen movie, which, to quote the columns, are the scenes of the story you don't see that create momentum in the scenes you do see. It's very similar to the idea of big world, little window, where we're only shown a glimpse of the expansive world being built. The problem with this film is the window is too small and the blinds are partially closed. We don't get much of it at all. And they set up this really interesting concept, but I don't feel like the filmmakers are all that interested in that concept.
I think I said something like, it feels like they came up with the story of like the girl and her mom and then built the world around the story instead of coming up with the idea for the world and then finding the interesting story in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think like with a world like this that's not our current world, and it is, you know, it is a fantasy sci-fi element to it. The world needs to be established first, and then you need to like find what's interesting in the world to tell.
Yes, absolutely. And like, just, I don't want to spoil too much. I don't want to spoil the ending, so I don't really want to talk about that too much.
Yeah.
But there's just character motivations that don't make sense the more you think about it.
Yeah.
But what I will say is this movie loves Zoolander just as much as I do. I think Zoolander got referenced at least 4 to 5 times in this movie.
And it was pretty. There were some like really beautiful scenes.
The animation, the way they incorporated that was really interesting.
Yeah.
There is a joke about a horse that I think is hysterical. I don't think you think it's nearly as funny as I do.
It wasn't funny.
Oh, but that's what makes it so funny. So it's fine. It is fine. I gave it 2 stars. I think if this was an episode of Doctor Who or even a Star Trek episode about a planet that figured out how to, you know, fix all of the world's problems by killing people at 50, I think it'd be more interesting. But also, like, I can't honestly figure out what the writer of this movie is actually trying to say about society.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they were trying to be like, this is the way to fix society, but then like weren't exploring any of the obvious problems with that as a solution.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of problems with that as a solution.
Yeah. It feels like a less intense Thanos.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It could have been, I want this to be redone by someone else or written into a book.
Yes. Let's get an American remake of this, because this is a Canadian production. All right. Finally, the last movie we saw, the closing night of the film festival, had Laura Piani's Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. An aspiring author looking to get more out of life takes up a writing residency and finds herself in the sort of romantic entanglements that could come from the pages of a Jane Austen novel. So this is the last movie that we saw. I thought it was an enjoyable little film, and I said in my review that it feels more adult than most rom-coms are, and I say that not an adult in like an explicit sense, but oh wow, I can hear those dogs clear as hell. It doesn't have a lot of the same juvenile tendencies that rom-coms did.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of just like this woman right before going away on a writing retreat realizes that she might have feelings for her best friend, but then meets someone on the writing retreat.
Yeah.
And I think like just the way they handled it was very mature. It didn't have like some of like the weird jealousy that's like in more immature movies like it. But ultimately, like, I felt like it was relatively forgettable. Like I had fun with it, but I don't think it's gonna stick with me.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't that much too exciting about it.
No,
or
like,
unique.
And I like going back to what you're saying, like, you know, she thinks she might be in love with her best friend. They realize it's not quite there, and they continue to be best friends. It doesn't like affect them, at least not that we've seen.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the, you know, the strong friendship angle. And this movie, I said in my review, it reminded me of a lot of the films that made like Hugh Grant a star, like those English romantic comedies. And like I said, the leads are great. I like them quite a bit. What is amusing to me, so it's a movie that's supposed to be inspired by the works of Jane Austen, but there's like, I feel like it's lacking the like pure desire that you sometimes get out of those classic romance novels. Like when she started showing interest in the guy at the writing retreat, I'm like I wasn't surprised because I saw it coming, but it never felt earned. Like, it was like, oh, of course you guys fell in love. That's just, like, I just feel like they wrote on the page, they fell in love, and that was it. Like there was no build up to it. Because I feel like it took us so long to get to the writing retreat.
Yeah. I agree.
But I liked it, didn't love it. Very similar to how I felt about Bad Shabbos. I probably will never think about this movie ever again.
Yeah.
Great title, though. Jane Austen Wrecked My Life. Great fucking title.
Yeah.
I gave it 3 stars, no heart.
3 stars, no heart.
All right, so that is everything we saw at the Milwaukee Film Festival. That is a whopping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 movies in 15 days. Not bad.
No.
All right, guys, thank you very much for listening. If you like what we're doing here on the Shameless Picture Show, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, a follow. Give us a review on iTunes. There's a guy who gave us a good who left us a good star rating, but then commented that we talked too much at the beginning. So let's counteract that a little bit. Add some more reviews. If you guys want to read more of my reviews on the Milwaukee Film Festival, you can find me in Letterboxd at Viers 10 2008. You can find my beautiful and talented wife Amanda on her profile. I think it's just Amanda Viers.
I think so. I just closed it. Let me look quick. Amanda R. Viers.
Amanda R. Viers. So go find her. And I keep bullying her to be more active on Letterboxd. And it's not bullying to be mean. She wants to be more active on Letterboxd.
Yes.
She just forgets, so I have to do it.
Yes.
So, yeah, go check that out. And then you can find us on every form of social media, TikTok, Instagram. You can either find me, Michael_Viers, or Shameless Picture Show. Amanda, where can the people find you if they want to find you and find pictures of our dogs?
Instagram, Amanda R. Viers.
She doesn't really post about movies, but if you want to see a lot of cute pictures of our dogs and her artwork, go give her a follow. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. We do appreciate you, everyone who has given us love and support. And we'll see you next time. Shame time, shame place, Shameless Picture Show.
The Shameless Picture Show is a proud member of the Cinepunks Podcast Network. The show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and is hosted and produced by Michael Viers. The show is created by Michael Viers and Nick Richards. The Shameless Picture Show is edited by Austen Proctor of the Frightmares podcast. Amanda Viers is the show's graphic designer and a big help behind the scenes. Our theme music was composed by Austen Proctor with narration by Nick Richards. The end credit music you're currently enjoying was generously provided to us by the band 10 Speed. And an extra special thank you to all our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, and directly at Cinepunks.com.